Come here, son, nephew, young man, let me holler at you. You might be watching this video after watching the short video entitled Sometimes Proving Points is Pointless. And I gave you an example of when I made the right decision by not trying to prove a point. Now, mistakes like this I mostly made as a young man. I didn't do, I kind of got the picture after, well, as you get older, the years run together. But I'm going to give you an example of a time I made the wrong decision and tried to stay and prove a point for nothing. When I was in ninth grade, I played basketball at our local high school, and our coach did not like for us to lift weights because the extra weight and the muscle could throw your shot off, make you a little bit heavier, maybe a little bit slower. So if you were serious about basketball and you weren't a football player who happened to play basketball, you just went along with the program and you didn't lift weights. So there were some guys who, whether it was because they played football, whether because it was because they boxed at the local gym or the boxing gym, and some of those guys did or did not lift weights. Maybe they did calisthenics. It depends on their coach. And some of them guys had been to jail, at the school I went to. So we were in ninth grade, and at that time the school was a mess, and it was just off the chain, and it was almost like, I wouldn't say quite as bad as East Side High, but probably kind of close. And if you don't know what East Side High is, that's a reference to a high school from a movie called Lean on Me. As an educator, that's actually my favorite movie of all time. You should check it out. But that's a different story for a different day. Now, one of my homeboys, who I pretty much grew up with, decides he wants to start throwing food in the cafeteria. And somehow he throws cornbread over at two guys. And, sitting from a distance, it didn't seem like much. But man, them two jokers got mad quick, and they closed their distance fast. Now, in high school, like I said, I'm just a regular guy, bit of a bookworm. I did play basketball, but for the most part, I was just your average kid. No street stuff, no anything extraordinary other than, just trying to make good grades and trying to be a good kid. I turned my head, next thing I know, I turned back, these guys were right in my general vicinity. And I mean, they were cursing and yelling and mad, and I'm like, okay, well, my homeboy's still with me, so I'm gonna stand my ground. So, at first I was kind of like listening to one of the guys talk, and I noticed one of these dudes, man, he was ripped and he was cut like he just got out of the gym. And he was twice my size. Now, the other guy, he was about my size. I could have took him. So I looked back and I was going to tell my homeboy on three, hey, look, we just going to stand back to back and whatever happens going to happen. I look back, my homeboy, gone. And I'm like, oh, man, I just got here. So these guys are just getting ready to tee off on me, right? So I told myself, I tell you what, this dude that's my height, I'm going to try my best to see if I can knock him out. I was going to hit him. Hopefully he fell and just fold up, and hopefully the deans or the coaches will come break it up before I got beat up too bad, because it was two guys and one of them was way bigger than me. And thank God them guys decided to just cuss, talk crazy, and leave. But man, when I would see that guy I'm going to tell you some more stories about him later, because he actually turned out to be a decent dude despite his background. But every time that guy saw me, he said, hey, man. And he didn't say, man, don't you ever throw anything at me again. I'm going to break your face, dude. And he probably would have. But that's what I got for trying to prove a point. And as a side note, when people are doing dumb stuff, man, you gotta get out of the way and let them pay the consequences for their silly behaviors. You don't have time to be paying the price for somebody being stupid, because you play stupid games and you win stupid prizes. Look, I see so many young people in jail or dead because they're trying to prove points, talking crazy on the internet, insulting dead people. For what? What do you get from it? Some attention from some females? Well, as soon as you go to jail, most likely she'll be dealing with another man. And who knows what other problems she'll bring to you, because she probably deals with other females like that. You want some more negative attention from somebody else who thinks they're tough? Okay, well, there's always somebody tougher than you. Then what? You may be wanting a fist fight. This person may be looking to kill the next person they see. Some attention on the internet? You don't know these people. Most of these folks on the internet you're never going to meet in real life. And the internet is not the real world. Album sales? I hate to say it, fellas, but your most successful people in the music business do well in school, learn finance, they learn how to run a business. The money doesn't just come from nowhere. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes in the music business. Now, one point I will agree with, a lot of these guys say, yeah, I'm going to make you famous. You keep on talking on the internet. Nobody knows you now, but once you hit the front page of the papers, you'll be famous. I agree with that. But is that the way you want to go out? On your headstone, does it need to say, yeah, he's dead, but he ain't no punk, he proved his point? No, nobody cares after that, man, especially if you have kids and other responsibilities. And as an adult, and I'm talking 18 and up, it's possible for us to get trapped into this kind of behavior too. But you got to understand, the older you get, the higher the stakes. God forbid you go to jail, but if you do it as a young man and as a juvenile, okay, you get a fresh start when you're an adult. Even if you're a young adult and you have no kids and no real obligations, okay, now you have to overcome having a felony on your record if that's how far you take your criminal career. But okay, but man, once you're married and have kids and you done bought a house and bought vehicles, it gets tougher year by year to start over with nothing. And all for what? Because you proved your point? Well, let me leave you with something. What if the point that you proved was that maybe you're not all that smart? I can admit it. With that stunt in the cafeteria, being in the middle of a food fight and throwing food at some damn gangsters, hey, that was stupid. The only point I proved was that I was being stupid at the time. Is that the point you want to prove? Is that the legacy you want to leave behind? I know I don't. And as always, never lose the will to win and never lose the will to survive.